Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, Decoding the World of Esports. I'm really excited about this. We're gonna wait a couple of more minutes just to let people, give people some time to log in and figure out some of these technical issues, whatnot with GoToWebinar, which always happens. In the meantime, if you do have time, I'm going to share with you, and actually we had hoped to share this with the entire audience. But I'd like to share with you a quick video. If you have to, I don't encourage you to watch it right now, because I do want you to pay attention to the webinar. But just to kind of get things started and set the tone as we wait for people to come in. This is just a really interesting video from the Atlanta Esports Alliance about what esports is. It's a good way to set the tone for today's conversation. So let me go ahead and share this with you via the chat while we wait for folks to come in. And we'll get started at around 10:05. My apologies for that. There's the video. Turn it off. And for those of you that are not familiar with GoToWebinar, you do have the option to talk to us via chat, also sending questions. You also, if you are using audio, you can raise your hand. So this is all part of the sort of, we want this to be an engaging conversation. So please, I do encourage everyone to participate today. We have a great panel. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of very exciting questions. And we'll wait one more minute and then we'll get started. All right, I see people already raising their hands, asking questions. It's a good start. All right. You should have the ability to type on the chat. Once you open your chat box, there should be sort of 2 brackets and the text inside that says type message here. Yeah, and if please do send in questions via the question feature. It's kind of easier for us to track it that way rather than the chat feature. All right, but it's 10:05. I do want to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody, again. Welcome to today's webinar, Decoding the World of Esports. My name is Cesar Vence. I'm the Deputy Director for the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of International Affairs, and I will be moderating today's panel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I promise this is going to be an exciting conversation. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Today's webinar will be recorded and available for you viewing in our YouTube channel. All of the participants are currently muted, but like I said, if you want to talk to us, send in your questions, please use the chat or questions feature, or also raise your hand. You will also see a few polls throughout the webinar, so please do participate. We want to keep this engaging. And lastly, just so you know, and I know sometimes people want to ask questions directly to the panelists, we'll have about 15 minutes for a Q&A and conversation right at the end of the presentation. So today's webinar, Decoding the World of Esports, is part of our Global Sports Initiative, which aims to elevate Atlanta's positioning as an international sports hub by leveraging our sports industry and the assets that we have as a region. At the core of what we do as an office, at the Office of International Affairs, is global positioning of Atlanta. While many may know about Atlanta in the United States, and we're all familiar with here, we think we live in the middle of the universe. Outside of the US, our region and our industries are sometimes not that well known. So it is our job to make sure that the world knows about what Atlanta has, what's happening here, all about all the great things that we got going on, from innovation to fintech to sports. We want the world to know about that Atlanta is the esports capital of the US, that the state is one of the few states that has a sanctioned esports as a high school competitive sport, that we are home to some of the hottest gaming companies and esports teams, including the Atlanta Face, the Atlanta Reign, Hi-Res Studios, and Skillshot Media, just to name a few. I will also be remiss if I didn't mention the strong ecosystem that exists around our industry, with entities like the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Georgia Department of Economic Development, our academic institutions, and a number of public and private entities that are integral to the growth and success of the sports industry in our region. Given the current situation with COVID-19, today's conversation is very relevant, right? So from social distancing, lockdowns, stay-home orders, all of these have reduced consumer and business activity. Yet, everything that we read states that gaming and esports offers an exciting and engaging alternative for those looking for something different. More and more people are spending time on the internet and on their mobile devices. Sports fans, in particularly, we're all, kind of having withdrawals and freaking out about this. We've all been looking for alternatives, and I include myself in this. I started watching Paulo Neto from Atlanta United play FIFA, and I've had to also scream at my brother-in-law a couple of times around 4 a.m. when he was yelling at somebody while playing Smite. So I think this has become part of our everyday life. But what excites me the most about all of this is that Atlanta is at the forefront of this moment. And we, again, as the esports capital of the United States and one of the leading gaming and esports hubs in the world, have a big opportunity to capitalize on this new trend. So today, we have two industry experts who are going to educate us, share their insights, and tell us more about the status of esports and what is ahead. Before we get started, just want to kind of preface the conversation by saying that we do have a mixed audience. So what you'll see here is you'll have people that are very familiar with gaming and what esports is, and you also have people, and I include myself in this, that we know a little bit about, we know the concept, but we don't quite get it. So this is an opportunity to educate our audience, to really create more knowledge about esports and what this is and what this means. So before we get started, before I introduce the panelists, I do want to run a quick poll. I just want to kind of get a feel for the audience and how you all feel about esports. So we have a poll going on right now. We're gonna leave this running for a few seconds, about 30 to 40 seconds. So please do participate. Okay. Seems like mostly everyone's familiar with this. All right. So 5 more seconds and I'm going to close this poll. Thank you to everyone that participated, and just I'll share the results with you in just a little bit, but it's a little bit of insights. About 55% of our audience currently knows a little bit about esports. Only 9% has no clue what esports is, but they're interested in learning, and 36% says, oh yeah, they know about esports. So let me just shoot another poll for you real quick. Just curious about, again, sort of where you are as it relates to gaming and esports. I always enjoy watching these responses as they come in. Again, we'll run these for a few seconds just to kind of get going. Interesting. I can tell you that a lot of people were playing video games last night.
Every night, buddy.
Yeah, this is exciting. All right, 2 more seconds. I'll go ahead and close these off. Okay, so again, interesting findings here. About 35% of the attendees were playing video games last night. 14% within the last week or so, 8% within the last month, and 41% say it's been years, and only 2% said never. So really interesting, just to kind of gauge the audience and see who's here today. So as I mentioned, we do have a pretty mixed group. So let's go ahead and kick things off. I want to first, again, introduce our panel. Very excited about having these two fine gentlemen joining us today. So we're going to kick things off with Asante Bradford, who is the project manager for digital entertainment and emerging media at the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Asante focuses in promoting the growth of the digital media industry, as well as identifying initiatives that will help grow businesses for the state of Georgia in the interactive and entertainment esports. Asante will provide us with an overview of esports in Georgia from an economic development perspective and tell us about all the great things that are happening here in the state. So thank you for joining us this morning, Asante. I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you, Cesar, and good morning, everyone. We're always really excited to share kind of what we're doing and trying to grow in this space. The poll question I would have asked those, Cesar, is how many of their kids are playing and all. And I would say that's always the best place to get educated, man. Go talk or go hang out with your kids, man. They know exactly what's going on in this space. So again, good morning. My name is Asante Bradford, and I work for the Georgia Department of Economic Development. And I get the pleasure of selling the state of Georgia to prospects and companies looking to expand or grow a new location in Georgia. I get measured, or we get measured in economic development by the jobs and investment we bring to the state. But it's also just not a one state kind of thing as well. We work with all of our different communities, and even within our organization, I think we're doing something pretty groundbreaking in that aspect. Is we have almost 4 or 5 of our divisions literally working in the esports space. So, shout out to my compatriots, if that's a word, and the Centers of Innovation, who actually commissioned a study with Georgia Tech for us on the growth of esports here. The Georgia Film Office. Get a chance to work with Alan Fox there, who they brought on for creative industries. Our Georgia Power is a great partner of ours, the Metro Chamber. Todd with the Esports Alliance, the Atlanta Sports Council, Georgia Power, Metro Chamber. So again, Georgia Film Academy, and even you, Cesar, the Office of International Affairs. Our professional teams, the Hawks, Falcons, Braves, Atlanta United are all involved with esports. And of course, all of the growing communities all across the state, from here in Atlanta to Invest Atlanta to all of our other economic development partners from Columbus to Savannah and all over. So again, it's a big effort. The state is definitely, we have definitely supported the industry. We have actually a tax credit, and thanks Todd as well for helping me put that together for esports, and one of the only ones I definitely know in the U.S. that have that as well. So the state is definitely not just economically, but also financially investing in this industry as well. And we saw that growth from the video game industry that has grown out of that. So that's how basically esports came on my radar. Todd and I we did a trade mission to Germany, I think it was about 2014, 15, to one of the biggest gaming events. It's called Gamescom in Germany. And we brought 5 Georgia companies. And that was an eye opener for me. Literally, Todd, you guys at High Res, and we had a game controller company, Control Freak. Literally, we're treated like rock stars. We had a booth. So that was my first trade mission, putting that together, and that was amazing. But there was nothing more amazing than seeing 30,000 people watching on a big screen and in an arena playing our local game, Smite. which came from High Res. And that was it for me. So ever since then, we've come back. Not only have we just been backing it up, but we just had incredible companies here who have actually led the charge. And I think for the state, we just jump on their bandwagon and ride it out with them to see the growth. But again, it was literally like going to a Justin Bieber concert. If I ever go to a Justin Bieber concert, that was kind of what it was, man. So it was really exciting. Yes, so Caesar, we are making that claim that we are the esports capital of the world, mostly because of a lot of different factors. But I would say, you know, access to our corporate partners is big in Atlanta. Obviously, you know, Cox Enterprises was the one who actually invested in our first esports team, the Atlanta Reign. We have, Warner Media, they're called now, Turner Sports. Who actually started the first kind of broadcast literally in esports with, I'm getting the name of the show. Don't kill me, guys. E-League, I'm sorry, E-League. That comes on Friday nights, and that was huge. And then, again, some of our game companies, again, we're talking a lot about esports, but so much have come out of with our game companies in town from, you know, High Res, Tripwire, Blue Mammoth, Ubisoft, who have really took, you know, created the content that has become a big stalwart in this industry as well. So I'm always going to always give them kudos as well for what they have done to grow the space as well. And then also we have, you know, new locations growing, arenas growing. We have Access Replay, you know, is definitely invested in the space. You know, Battle and Brew in Sandy Springs has done great over years. And, you know, and the Mall of Georgia, you know, is looking to put a game arena as well. So continued growth with all of our corporate companies like that, as well as, you know, our the companies that support the game industry, you know, like we have two really strong game controller companies from Scuff Gaming and Control Freak. That has really, you know, again, really helped grow our state. And then I think the big event, well, there's a few, but one of the big ones was having DreamHack come to Atlanta the last 3 years. And I think with that, you know, we're the only U.S. state, Todd, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we're the only U.S. state where they have been the last 3 years consistently. Their growth here has been amazing. They have locked in for another 2 years. Obviously, this year will be a little change of plans. But from that growth, what I really think it did was help highlight this industry and to let, you know, people here, you know, see what's going on. And this amazing event, 3 days where, you know, kids can bring their laptops and literally do live gaming and or, you know, compete in tournaments. And I think it really opened a lot of eyes. So we were really excited. We had the governor and the mayor of Atlanta actually participate last year, which was great. Then the other big selling point I think that happened with DreamHack too is our entertainment in whole. You know, I think a lot of it not talked about, but again, when you talk about esports, you know, again, a big part of that is the broadcasting, which is the film, TV side of things, and then the music is, you know, we're huge hip hop capital of the world, really. So again, I think with all of those factors, it just makes Atlanta, Georgia, an amazing opportunity for a lot of companies to come in and not just grow, but also come in and start with a lot of great talent, which I think that's the other thing I would put on as well. I didn't get a chance to talk about our schools, but our schools are just done. By schools, I mean, I literally actually mean our elementary, high school, and colleges. We don't pass any of them up, and we're really excited to see that. I mean, literally, you go to one of our elementary schools, man, and you'll see the layout for esports. As far as film and video, you know, they have broadcast centers. So we're starting early with your kids. Actually, a lot of you kids, a lot of people watching. We feel that our talent in the next few years is really going to be a driving force for us. So just really excited to see our colleges, you know, start offering scholarships in gaming. We recently had another school, Georgia State, just literally launched a new gaming program. I know we have 3 teams, or I'm probably off now, but probably there were 3 or 4 of our colleges that actually have not professional, but have teams that compete in games, which has been great. We have a few of our schools now, I said, that are offering scholarships. So again, when your kid tells you he needs that extra couple hours of practice now, you might have a little case going on there. I'll wrap it up pretty quick, but I know you mentioned COVID, and kind of what I've seen is that I think it's almost, I don't want to say it's been a benefit, but we dealt with it, and this industry has definitely been very COVID recession proof, I guess I would say. Obviously a lot of the events, even some of the big ones we had scheduled, you know, were definitely canceled or postponed, but so much of it is shifted online, and that's basically kind of where esports all started. So we feel that that's, you know, again, we're gonna come out the winning side of this as people adjust, you know, and I've talked to some of our game companies and how they've adjusted to it. So again, probably be mostly online. But the other opportunity that really excites me as well, mostly because of COVID, is you're now seeing basically the gaming industry and the film industry come together now. And this really excites me. So I'm not sure if you heard of virtual production, but what's happening, if you guys want to do your research, you can look up the making of The Mandalorian on YouTube, and kind of see now what's going on with the using these virtual productions, or using the game engine, the Unreal game engine, to basically create your virtual backgrounds now. So we're really excited to see, as these industries come together, that again, Georgia, we want to lead in this space. So we have a lot of great assets in that space already. Georgia State already has the only volumetric stage on the East Coast, and that does motion capture. I might be not giving them enough justice just saying East Coast. So the fact that a lot of these effects and backgrounds can now be rendered ahead of time for these movies and TV shows, and they can be done in camera, it's going to save a lot of time and money for Hollywood. So the combination of the engine and with the LED screens now in the background, just going to create a lot of flexibility, you know, for Hollywood. And I'm just really excited to see. I actually heard Frank Patterson speak the other day, and he mentioned that they already are creating one of those stages, which is great, because I think you're going to see that play again in total creative industries, from animation, gaming, obviously film and television as well, as they move into this new virtual production. Obviously with COVID now, with actors, you know, you don't need these actors as close, or people with crew. Now you can literally, in the game engine, create your scenes even before you start shooting. So that's what we're on. These LED walls is something that we definitely want to, you know, talk to our studios about. And then again, with we have I'll give a quick shout out to the Georgia Post Alliance. We've been working with a lot as well, growing our post production here, which ties into a lot of this technology I'm talking about. So we have a growing group of from special effects, all of those type of things as well. So we've recently had some announcements on that, which has been really exciting. So yeah, that's kind of one of the places we want to lead, you know, and I think as 6G, 7G and all that starts kicking in, that's only going to help us, you know, propel us to the front of the pack, you know. As far as VR, AR, we just had a great announcement as well. So it's just really excited to see that. And then actually we had a talk with Epic yesterday about training our trainers, so training our educators, which is really exciting. And then the Georgia Game Developer Association actually got a grant from Epic, a mega grant, to actually start teaching these classes. So again, if anybody on there who is an educator who is interested in this, please reach out to me. I would love to. That's almost a mission for me now, is to get all of our teachers educated in this game engine and being able to teach our students in this. And like I said, I think in the next few years, that's going to propel us to the front. That's kind of it. Again, I would like, I guess, talk about some of the events that, that have really helped grow us as well. I mentioned Georgia Game Development Association have done Siege, and, they've done a great job with our colleges and educating our colleges. We have MomoCon, Dragon Con, and just done an amazing job. And just to see the growth in such a short time and what they brought together has just been exciting as well. Again, I mentioned our entertainment tax credit. Literally, the last couple of weeks, we had our session, and the tax credit actually got renewed, which was great. And there's been some minor changes that we'll do on the admin side. That's really exciting. But I was really, really happy to see that. So I'm gonna give a shout out to our legislators too. I'm gonna give a shout out to my bosses, the commissioner, and governors and everything for supporting this industry, and supporting those credits was huge. We've seen how that has grown our gaming industry from 5-6 companies years ago to now I'm hearing over 150 companies now, right? Our animation group, we have over 100 animation companies here now too. So all of these, in my opinion, like, they all play together. It's all about the creative industries. And I think, again, to go back to your earlier statement, yeah, we are going to claim ourselves as being the top creative industry state. We got some competition worldwide, but I feel that here in Georgia, we are on the cutting edge and really can continue growing this, especially if we invest in our talent. We've invested in our tax credits, and then now as our corporate partners get more involved, like I mentioned, COTS Enterprises, Warner Media, Coca-Cola, even the hospitals. I think Northside Hospital did a project before. So again, those are where I think we'll lead. And then again, the other great thing I think for us, again, talking about our talent, is kind of is Georgia is actually one of 5 states that actually high school esports actually was approved for. So our Georgia High School Association has actually made it a varsity sport. Where was that when we were in college, Caesar? So now again, and high school, literally you can get a high school jacket. So Georgia, I know with the Georgia High School Association, there was a couple of leagues that our schools participated in, one being this one called Play VS. And I know we had over 60 of our high schools and literally all over the state competing in that. And then I know we had we were in a couple other leagues. So that's a big mission statement for us as well, to continue to help build that on the high school level, and then even hopefully even get down to elementary as well, and even have them compete. So that's a big mission for us as well. And then, yeah, I would say, again, for us, Georgia, especially specifically Atlanta, getting the rankings that we've been getting. Last week, we got, top film production. We've been rated #1 for gaming environment, top for gamers. I think we were #5 for augmented reality and virtual reality. So again, as the future comes up, I just see us positioned very well, and continually attracting companies, foreign and domestic. And I'm excited, and I just want to just say my appreciation. Just like I do, I say for the film industry, I think the gaming industry is very similar in that it's a group effort, and by that I mean all of us are involved with how the film industry was grown here, and I feel the same way was happening in digital entertainment as well. And it's so many people that I wasn't able to shout out that they're doing an amazing job of just continually grow this. So yeah, I put Georgia up against anybody, man, and I get the pleasure of doing that every day.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you, Asante, so much. Every time I hear you talk, I just get more excited about everything that we have going on here in Georgia and in Atlanta in particular.
Well, Caesar, you do an amazing job. I haven't even shout you out too, man, and really exposing us to foreign markets. And this, So I just really appreciate what you guys have done too, and to be able to, and then we have 11 international offices, and again, they do an amazing job as well of getting me great leads and stuff like that. So first off, kudos to you, man, because you're probably not gonna get it from anybody else today, but I'm gonna give you some kudos, man.
No, thank you. We could not do what we do without our partners, so it's key. I do want to just follow up with you real quick, very short answer for you, Asante, as we talk about international business. We do have some attendees from other countries participating today. If I'm a foreign company, a foreign gaming company, and I'm interested in coming to Atlanta, who should I contact? What is the process? Can you just briefly tell us that? And of course, we'll share that information after the webinar.
Sure. Well, always it's probably good to reach out to me. Todd's a great contact as well. We work a lot together, and like I said, most of the groups from even the Metro Chamber, Georgia Power, we all work together. So I would reach out to me. I'd reach out and just send me an email or something like that if you're looking. We have some active projects overseas right now, so really exciting, and we can help from visa requirements and all of that. And Todd can actually talk about what he had to go through in the beginning with all of that stuff too, bringing that international talent here. And you guys are a great fit. So as these companies come, we have a lot of different resources and groups that can help them transition very well here. And then the other part obviously is the partnerships, and I think that's kind of where we lead. Just incredible partners, and we all continue to work together. And I will say this too, there's nothing like being on a call with these folks. And when these companies are talking about this industry or something like that, man, everybody's just so educated that these groups are so impressed. So like, wow, because we're government folks, man, you guys aren't supposed to understand all of this kind of stuff. But again, man, we have an incredible group of folks who are also entrepreneurs as well, which I love, because they can talk that business with them, and actually can show them examples of success of coming here. So long answer to your question, but yeah, I would say between Todd and I, you'll be in good hands.
Great, thank you. And just for the audience, in case you're wondering, we'll get you Todd's and Asante's information as well. Again, the recording of today's webinar. But let's just move along. Now I would like to introduce everyone to our next panelist, Todd Harris, someone who has many titles, and he's a rock star in the industry. I won't read Todd's bio. It's quite extensive, but if you don't know him, I do encourage you to look him up and learn more about him and his work. But I do want to just highlight a couple of things about Todd. Todd is one of the co-founders of Hi-Res Studios, one of the largest gaming studios in the Southeast, one that happens to call Atlanta home. He's currently the chairman of the Atlanta Esports Alliance, and also the founder and CEO of Skillshot Media, an esports infrastructure company. So with his many hats, Todd is well equipped to discuss the past, present, and future of the esports industry. So Todd, thank you for joining us this morning, and I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Cesar. Thanks, Asante. It's great to be here, talk about my favorite topic, which is esports, and yeah, what a pleasure to be in a state and a city that is supporting this, and very in an educated way. So that's definitely a blessing. If I go way back to junior high school Todd, who was obsessed with video games, at that time, I thought of the government. I mean, they were like against video games, right? It was like a vice, and it's an enlightened time, because certainly I credit a lot of my success to the power of video games delivered the right way. So I think we're going to take about 10 minutes together, and Cesar asked me to outline the past, the present, and the future of the video game industry. And then we'll dig in with Asante closer to Atlanta and Georgia specifically. I'm actually going to start with the present, then go past, then go future, because since we had about 10% of the group that was not at all familiar with video games, just wanted to kind of level set with everyone quickly the impact of gaming and esports. So first of all, just economically, gaming plus esports is now unequivocally the biggest entertainment industry on the planet. So we get very excited in Georgia and everywhere around the film industry, and that's an amazing industry. We have a really strong music industry, also very healthy here locally, and Atlanta influences the world in hip hop and other genres. But you basically have to take the entire box office revenue from film and all music revenue, put them together, and you still don't reach the global revenue from gaming and esports. So we're bigger than those industries put together. It's $140 billion globally as an industry. So just kind of let that soak in. You know, this is the largest entertainment industry we're talking about. And, you know, recently, I think it came on a lot of people's radar because of some of these large global events. We're fortunate that we host many of them in Atlanta, but probably the Fortnite event last year, the World Championship, for many people, that's what put esports on the map, right? I was fortunate to get to be there. It was awesome. Arthur Ashe Stadium, 10,000 people watching overnight. A 16-year-old kid becomes a millionaire. So from someone no one ever heard of to walking away with $3 million from one event. So that one event awarded more than Tiger Woods wins for the Masters, you know, awards more than the US Open. That was all from a video game, and this was from a kid that no one had heard of the day before. But after that event, he's on the Tonight Show, then he's on the Today Show. Now he's got a streaming channel, and kind of that story, that aspirational story of being able to go from kind of being unheard of to being the very top because you're just exceptionally skilled. That's part of the appeal of esports. You know, the fact that in theory could be anyone. You know, that could be you, that could be me. It doesn't matter where you were born. So that aspirational nature is a big part of esports. So that for many folks was their aha moment that esports is real. People are probably familiar with Fortnite. Most on the call may not be familiar with the game called Dota 2, Defense of the Ancients 2, but you know, this is a game that has a long history. They have a very significant prize pool. They actually crowdsource their prize pool. So we're talking about players of the game who are buying things inside the game, and that makes the prize pool go up, up, up. So that prize pool last year was $30 million for one event, one video game, $30 million. And this year, it's already exceeded $31 million. And so it will yet again set another record at the 10th version of this international event for this game, Dota. So we're talking about, you know, an industry that is the largest in terms of economic impact. We're talking about prizing that is at or above other traditional sports. And then the other big thing that you probably have heard of or your kids are aware of is just the viewership, you know, the appetite to watch other people play video games. And so if you go to Twitch TV, which is the platform where most people are watching this content, the audience on a monthly basis there, that's higher than ESPN's audience. That's higher than CNN's audience. So there's tremendous appetite for this. So that's current day esports. You know, it's not like when is esports going to become a thing? It clearly is a very, very large economic impact, viewership impact, and competitive impact as far as prizing. So that's current day, just to level set. Let's look a little bit at the past, kind of how we got here, and then the exciting part, you know, where we're going, the future. So to really understand esports and how it emerged, you have to understand a little bit about just the game industry itself and where video games came from. And you know, when I was growing up, it was literally started with Pong. This is gray, Asante, you're right. Started with Pong, then it was Space Invaders in the arcade. but there was always this appetite to compete because we're that type of species. We strive for excellence. We want to see how we rank, how we compare. So even if it was the neighborhood arcade with Space Invaders and then Donkey Kong, you're looking at that leaderboard and you're like, I think I can take Asante. Let me put up a quarter. I got next. And you could be a star in the sphere of your local neighborhood. But a few things really catapulted that so that you could be a star on the world stage. It actually began in Korea, if you want to look at kind of what area of the world started it, where there were a bunch of factors that came together, where in South Korea, the government invested a lot in infrastructure. So they had broadband everywhere, really good internet. And also there was this social phenomenon of people meeting in LAN cafes, like actually coming together with really good internet and being able to play on computers together. And that made it so it was a very social community experience. So Asante and I might go if we're college friends, or you can actually go with your girlfriend or boyfriend and kind of rent a couch by the hour and have a couples gaming experience. And you had really good internet and this social dynamic and the birth of games that became multiplayer, where you could play with other people, even at other LAN cafes. So now this competition wasn't just to be the best in your neighborhood cafe, it was to be the best in all of South Korea. And this competition appetite began, particularly around a game called StarCraft 2, StarCraft. Those games just became very, very competitive, and things we recognize as esports, like really strong production values, other people watching, that all kind of started in Korea. When the platform Twitch came about, that's really what made it global, because now, again, back to that Fortnite story, anyone, you don't have to be in Korea, you don't have to be in Atlanta, you could be anywhere in the world. If you have an internet connection and a way to play, there's nothing standing between you and that world stage other than your time to master and your skill. So it becomes the ultimate kind of democratic activity, it just meaning democratizing it, making it accessible to all. That's really the promise that esports started to deliver with Twitch. And that's really what catapulted it. So Twitch was bought by Amazon, famously for about $970 million. And now there was a way to broadcast this competition globally. So that was a super important moment. The other big kind of milestone to hit is what these game publishers did to support their business. So when I was growing up, the way a game made money was often you went to a store, you bought it, you paid for that game one time, and you would play that game, and that's how the game monetized itself. But new business models started to evolve, either subscription-based games, like massively multiplayer online games, or microtransactions, where you're buying things within the game. So the game developers' incentive, their business incentive changed from, hey, I'm just going to sell you a game every Christmas and you play it for a little bit, to, I really want you to be playing these games for a long time. If you play the game more, that's more economic value for the developer. And things like esports, that extends the life of the game. Because Cesar, if you're playing a game like Smite or League of Legends, every month you've got something new. Maybe you got a new character to learn. And even if they haven't dropped a new character, you're going up against Asante and he's figured out a new way to play a character. And every match you come into is different. It's more like sports. The battleground may be the same, but your opponents, other players, that mixes it up. And that extends the life of the game. So because publishers with their games wanted people to play them longer, they started to support esports by adding, prizing and production values, because basically it helped them market their game. And many developers did that. I give Riot Games out in California a lot of credit. At Hi-Rez Studios, we, for a developer of our size, invested a tremendous portion, basically all of our marketing budget almost, into esports competition rather than, say, buying banner ads, right? Or advertising on TV. We just saw that as more effective support of our core business, which was gaming. So as more publishers started to do that and they saw that work, that's really what brought us to today. So that's a little bit about today. That's a little bit about the past. I'll jump to the future, but Cesar, any questions before I move to future?
No, not yet. I'm so excited, and it kind of took me back when you mentioned renting the 1 hour sofa and just kind of hanging out. I was just kind of picturing what that looked like. But no, I mean, this is super exciting. I can't imagine trying to play Smite against Asante. He'll probably kick my butt. So, yeah.
As long as you're not playing against my son, then he takes down pro players. So, but trained since birth, I guess. So, so all right, we'll move to the future a little bit, and then maybe open it up to some audience Q&A. But so those are some of the dynamics that got us up to now. So some of the future elements Asante actually hit, because we do think we're leading in Georgia and Atlanta, and a lot of the programs you'll see here will eventually go to other regions. We don't mind being first. That's cool. That's what we do. So,
That's right.
So first, Asante talked about it, is esports in a scholastic setting, meaning colleges, meaning high school, meaning junior high. So there are already 200 universities, certified 4-year institutions that give scholarships for video games. That's doubled every single year, just about, but 200 within the United States. Also in the high school space, there's now quite a few states that have adopted it. And that's one thing you'll continue to see is adoption. The next thing you're going to see is more than just playing the game. You're going to see that esports will inform the curriculum of the schools. So colleges, including many in Georgia, are offering esports classes or esports majors, in addition to the game design and development majors that we've seen really explode both locally and internationally. And the reason that's going to happen is that we're all very focused on skill development for youth, and that includes not only STEM, which is super important, but also just being a good human, teamwork, communication skills, sportsmanship. And we have a lot of motivated teachers and coaches who want to deliver these messages, and computer science teachers who want to teach programming. But the hard part is leading the horse to water. And with video games, the horses gallop to the water. They'll jump over anything to get to that water, because video games are naturally built to be attractive. And so video games really become, in the scholastic world, almost like a Trojan horse for delivering STEM and good learning outcomes. And you're going to see more and more folks realize this. And they also even help right now, coincidentally, when we're in a distanced learning environment, that's we're all trying to get better at how to deliver content this way. And I don't think we've arrived, but I know that gaming technologies will be part of the solution there, because that's what it's all about, building interactive virtual worlds that people can spend a lot of time in, and they find them very engaging. So you're going to see that. You are going to see a continued trend around geolocation, meaning teams or leagues that have kind of a home base. So Asante mentioned here in Atlanta, Cox invested in the Atlanta Reign, and also in a Call of Duty franchise. Those are significant franchise fees. I mean, those are $30 million in one case and $20 million in another case, to buy a franchise, just like you would buy a Major League Soccer franchise that has a home base in Atlanta. And the franchise model is interesting. Not all esports will be franchised. Some will be more open, but you are going to see continued trend towards, again, geolocation in the same way you have with traditional sports, meaning like this is Atlanta's home team. That's Minnesota's home team. That's Miami. That's Los Angeles, because that is what cultivates rivalries kind of naturally, right? So you're going to see that. You're going to see crossover with music and culture and sports. Asante mentioned that as well. Again, here in Atlanta, particularly in the time of COVID, when sports is on pause and when musicians can't actually tour and do their live concerts, well, you can still show up on Twitch. You know, you have NBA players that were playing NBA 2K. You have NFL players that were playing Madden. You have NASCAR racers that couldn't race on the real track, but they were in their sim racing, and that was put on TV with the same commentators. And you have hip hop artists that maybe can't tour, but they can come and do a halftime show as a part of a Fortnite event. So, you know, again, this really exploded for many people in the game Fortnite when Travis Scott recently performed inside the game and shattered every record out there as far as simultaneous views. You know, it was larger than any TV audience could have reached because so many millions of people are playing the game Fortnite, and it was delivered in a super immersive way. So you're seeing that. You're going to see crossover with film on the production side. Asante also mentioned this, but these technologies are starting to merge. So these game engines, Unity and Unreal specifically, that built virtual worlds can also now build digital film sets and entire films. So you're going to see that. You're going to see mobile continue to grow. So if you look to Asia, which is where a lot of these esports trends start, mobile is already much bigger than the PC and also bigger than the consoles if you look at China and Korea, because this is the computing device that every kid already has in their pocket. And just, you know, compare it to sports, right? When I grew up and I read about Pele, like sleeping with the soccer ball next to his pillow, right? Or you read about whatever high school phenom and how many jump shots they're taking, because it's all about like number of reps, okay? If I'm practicing my esports game and I can get my reps in every day when my mom's driving to school, I mean, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about accessibility and the future esports star, because every kid on the planet is growing up with this. Not every kid grows up with access to a ice skating rink. They're not going to play hockey because they're not close enough to an ice skating rink. They may not have access to a basketball court. The reason soccer's taken off is because you just need a field and a ball. Pretty accessible. But eventually the whole world will have this and we'll have internet, which is why eventually esports is going to take over. It's the future of sports and media because it's ultimately super accessible. And on that final point, I'll hit, you know, because it's just a national and international topic right now, you know, kind of the equity and diversity discussion. And I think within esports, you're also seeing that, you know, you're seeing game developers, publishers, esports, league operators be part of that conversation and make that a focus, because the amazing benefit that we have, it's not like gaming and esports has arrived and we have the representation that we want, but we know that our sport is built, you know, it's ultimately like the brain is the athlete. So it doesn't matter gender, race, sexual preference. We actually don't divide leagues between men and women. The way it's designed is the ultimate accessible sport. And we're not quite there yet, but we will get there. And that's another conversation you'll see in an important part of our future. All right, that's enough. I'll pause.
This is awesome. Hey, Todd, thank you so much. We're getting tons of questions, tons of comments. I think everyone's really excited about this. I'm just thinking that we need to have a panel like this just for parents, just so they understand the benefits of
Right.
gaming. So I know a lot of parents, you know, they'll take the remote controls away, they'll turn off the internet access, but they don't realize that they may be losing on a huge opportunity. So I want to follow up with a couple of questions for you just real quick, and then we'll jump right into the questions from the audience. But again, kind of going back to this is an international, you know, we are appealing to an international audience here, trying to position Atlanta globally. Just very quick, going back to Hi-Res Studios and when you co-founded the company, why did the company choose Atlanta? I mean, I know we've talked about a bunch of things, talent, sort of the ecosystem, but you just kind of talk about why Atlanta and how Atlanta helped the company get to where it is.
Yeah. So, and again, Hi-Res is a game publisher, which is a little different than, say, a game operator or a team from a tournament standpoint. But for Hi-Res, it was basically amazing entry-level talent and a low cost of doing business. I mean, really, those were the two offerings. Climate, there were a lot of secondary things, but pretty simply, when you're building a game company and you're creating games, you need amazing engineers, you need amazing artists, and also game designers. And they're kind of different skill sets. You know, you stereotypically think of like you got your geeky math programming folks, you got your more artist right brain folks, and the designers kind of have to bring them together. But with Atlanta at that time, we saw Georgia Tech being top 5 for programmers. We saw Savannah College of Art and Design being top 5 nationally for artists. And we saw many emerging game design programs coming out. And since that time, that's only exploded. Now we've got Kennesaw, Georgia State, we've got, Georgia Southern, we've got quite a few. But it was basically talent combined with a lower cost of doing business, everything from real estate to salaries to transportation to housing. If you look at the other game development hubs in the US, it's really West Coast based, San Francisco, a little bit of LA. Some people have tried to escape a little bit to Seattle, but all way expensive. And you're seeing a little bit in Texas with Austin, maybe a tiny bit in the Northeast, but it's mainly California and, again, us. And so we could get great entry level talent from these universities. And then when we wanted experienced talent, say 5 to 7 years, they were mainly coming from California. We just took them house shopping or apartment shopping, and that was it. Like, it was done. Like, they were like, wait, I can afford to live here? I mean, it was it. So it was mainly those two things.
Right. Got it. And then just
I'd like to add a little something too, what I think was really big on that part with exposing us to the international teams. And that was when you guys, Todd, were doing the HRX, and you were bringing, and I hope you talk to that real quick and I'll be quiet. You brought so many teams here from all over the world. And you guys, and then with Turner, with E-League, you guys were bringing all these teams. So they were getting exposed to Atlanta, without us even really, on our side having to do much. So anyway, talk to that real quick, Tom.
Yeah, that's right. So, I talked about Hi-Res from the creating the game. And then when you go to doing events, which if you're an esports team or you're a tournament operator, which is my new business, Skillshot, or E-League at Turner. So now part of your challenge is you want to have an event. You want a lot of people to show up. So number one, you just need a big consumer market. Asante dropped some stats, but Atlanta has a lot of gaming consumers. It's literally top. If you look at any game that's being played, a lot of the players are in Atlanta. Atlanta obviously is a hub for the entire Southeast region as far as conventions. When you're doing an event, you want people to show up, and then you have to get competitors, many of whom are global, international competitors, players all over the world, to the destination. Well, we've got the world's busiest airport and Delta headquartered here with the most direct flights internationally. So, okay, that's easier on your players who you're asking to travel from Germany, from Korea, from Australia, from Southeast Asia, from China. I mean, we have had events with players from all those regions and more. So they need to be able to travel easily with the airport. You need venues that will be able to host these things. And again, when you look across the landscape, we've got everything from a venue, if you want to do a 200-person event, to a 20K at, say, State Farm Arena, to blow it out at Mercedes-Benz one day. And they're all actually right there in a walkable space. There's very few cities, maybe in Orlando and Los Angeles are the only two other cities that even have that sort of event footprint between hotels and the overall kind of venue space. And then, yeah, as Asante knows, then you got to work on visas, which is a whole other issue. But these are international athletes, and those were the type of visas that we had to go through. And fortunately, having a supportive state government obviously can help with that as well.
Awesome. Well, I have a bunch of questions, but we've actually gotten a lot of questions from the audience, so I want to jump into that. Let me just kind of read through this real quick. As I do, I want to just launch one last poll for everybody, just to kind of, again, gauge who's here and what your role is. And then we're going to go ahead and get started in audience questions. Again, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes going through these questions, and then we'll wrap it up. So poll will be up for about 30 more seconds.
It'll be interesting to see how many of those are investors, Cesar.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely figure that out and have to track them down.
I think that's kind of one of the next stages, for us, is actually developing, again, more IP, helping our local companies grow, helping local startups grow.
So we do have a couple of questions from a startup here, so we'll do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Then I'd like to know, so the questions that we're receiving, I'm going to post them, and Asante and Todd, feel free to kind of just take a stab at them. So the first question comes from Darnell Suggs. He said, with COVID-19 creating a barrier for large-scale events nationwide, and many of these esports events shifting online in the interim, what competitive advantage does the state of Georgia have to reimagining a leader in this space if physical location no longer matters?
You want Todd? I'll just say, I know, again, as far as with internet, with dark fiber and fiber, I mean, again, I know, Todd, you were right there on 55 Marietta or close. So again, I think that's one of our biggest assets, is actually being right on the hub,
Yeah, I think that's right. My partner Nabil could talk in depth about this, but so the question is, we're in COVID times, we can't gather together, we're gathering virtually. Does Atlanta or Georgia have any competitive advantage there? When you're talking about virtual events, the infrastructure is no longer the venue, it's the speed and redundancy of your internet. And again, we're fortunate to be on some major hubs that a couple of them that cut through right the middle of the downtown, which is part of the reason we're in that location, that has both the fastest internet and multiple providers, so that you have redundancy, because the last thing you want for a premium event is for the show to not go on. So that's certainly one. And I think the other one probably is that we touched on a little bit softer, but just leaning into the talent as we cross over with sports, music, and culture. Like Atlanta kind of leads in that culture vibe, and some of these events are not 100% gaming. They've got a little flavor of something else, whether it's a pro-am style where you have your sports players playing, or you've got the performances like I mentioned before. And we just have both the talent here and, as Asante said, just kind of a culture of collaboration, I think, where we try to not be in silos. We kind of try to be one creative force. And so, yeah, when you want to have talent and you want to work with folks, that's another advantage that we have. It's a great question, though. It's certainly an opportunity. I think from a tech standpoint, I will say that it's not a solved issue, right? There's still opportunities. We've got this sort of experience where everyone's in their little squares talking, and we're all very used to that. And then you've got the other extreme of being in these very immersive environments, like I'm in the middle of Fortnite, or I'm in the middle of Smite, and I'm here with 3D avatars. And it's an opportunity for someone to kind of have the right tech solution that really combines these worlds. But that's not a solved problem yet, I don't think.
Got it. Big opportunity for us. Next question. As the U.S. moves into legalizing sports gambling, is esports part of this equation, specifically a monetization model?
Yes, it currently is considered generally similar to sports. You know, it's skill-based games. These are games of skill. They're not random. That's part of the reason why they are called esports. You know, they're not like playing roulette. We're just spinning a wheel. If Asante is good and high on the ladder, that's because he has really good skill. So they're considered games of skill, the way sports are, and generally have followed the sports betting approach. So there are already books out there on games. A league for Counter Strike Go, and actually the last championship for League of Legends in Vegas and in a couple other states, I think New Jersey, you could wager on those. And so it is developing, and probably like sports betting, it'll be a state by state sort of engagement, and we'll see what Georgia does, but it'll definitely follow sports and eventually surpass it, because eventually the idea of doing prop bets, because this is this is by nature digital. It's not as reliant as on an official. I could bet Asante whether I'm going to take him in this particular game, or whether I'm going to be ahead at the half, or whether, really anything. And you're going to get an electronic digital tail of the tape right from the game engine that says what happened. So the opportunity for more real-time interaction, because you don't have to go through an official and looking at tape delay. It's like the game engine can tell you. So the opportunity is pretty strong long-term.
Got it. Next question, and I don't know if we'll get through all of this, but we'll do our best here. So, are there educational international esports competitions? I know this kind of touches in what Asante was discussing with the high schools. For example, could a school from France compete with one of the schools here in Atlanta? Is there an opportunity that's out there currently?
It's developing, I'll say. So that definitely will happen. It has happened, but it's a bit fragmented right now. Part of the challenge with things like that is that there are a lot of international organizations that are working on those kind of missions. At the end of the day, every game, this is very important for esports, every game is ultimately owned by a publisher, which makes it very different from basketball. The NBA owns the NBA, but the NBA doesn't own basketball. The four of us could have an international basketball game tomorrow, or league if we wanted to, and make a business out of it. But if you want to do something with League of Legends or Smite or Overwatch or any game out there, the publisher ultimately owns those rights, and there needs to be a license agreement. And so that means some initiatives like this are a little more complicated, because you have to have that relationship with the publisher versus just doing it like you could with basketball or tennis or anything else. So that is a dynamic that makes esports a little different. But those opportunities will definitely develop, and that's one of the things that our company is actually working on as well. So,
fantastic. I think I'm gonna send this one to you, Asante. There was a discussion of a tax credit for esports in Georgia. Are there other funding service available to Georgia businesses bringing esports to the community?
Just like Todd said on the last one, I think it's developing. I think a lot of it's just really education right now. I mean, literally this is pretty new, for what's going on in Georgia, entertainment in a whole. So again, I was actually talking a little bit about that, but we are getting into this now, but we're in the really beginning stages. And I see it, as long as we keep having these successes that we're having, I think that's only going to continue to grow. In our investment community, I'm really excited that we are having these discussions now, that they are, looking for that. So and it only makes sense with our young talent. Again, some of these high school, college kids are going to start their own business in this area too. So again, I think you're going to see that opportunity start happening even more as they continue to get educated and grow. So both sides are coming. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we're in the beginning stages, but there's a lot of opportunity for growth.
Great.
Feel free to reach out to Asante and myself. Again, other than Skillshot, I wear this hat at the Atlanta Esports Alliance, which is a part of both the chamber and the Sports Council. And so, one of the things we try to do is just be a helpful connector, right, for gaming or esports businesses. So whether that's official support, that Asante can hook you up with, or maybe just helping connect you with the investment community here, endemic gaming companies like Hi-Rez or Control Freak or Scuff to just help show you around, show you the neighborhood, or corporate partners. We are just trying to be a connector. So feel free to reach out.
And then companies like
We'll
you
share
just-
Todd and Asante's information.
No, I was going to say companies like that as well are also starting to reinvest in other companies as well. So that's pretty exciting as well.
Question about international connections. So this year, the Esports World Championship is in Israel, and due to COVID-19, it is going completely digital. So how do you guys see the esports community and the esports platform making international connections?
I think that, the silver lining is that at least the competition can continue. Obviously, we all still crave human contact, and there's nothing like being together for these events, like Asante said. I don't know if I would have used the Justin Bieber reference, but it's valid. Whether it's Bieber, hip hop, EDM, there's a lot of energy at these things and crazy experiential and a lot of screens. So they're very good to experience in person. There's no substitute for that. That said, everything's on pause, and at least we're not stopped. So we're not COVID immune, but we're COVID resistant, and so we can kind of keep chugging along. So yeah, the event in Israel or other events can at least continue, and at the end it'll be actually very healthy, because what's happening is if you're a brand out there that was all about traditional sports or music and you can't put any marketing dollars in those, at least you can support these esports events. It's kind of forcing you to engage, and I think many of them will stick around. So yeah, the events can still happen, which is fortunate, and one day they'll return and have a real life component, which will be even better.
Yep. Sante, three-part question for you regarding high school. So how will high school esports be launched at the schools, where it hasn't been launched yet? Do schools get access to equipment and coaching? And are there any plans for game development to be taught in high schools?
Todd, I think you're doing this, is that? So why don't you go ahead and talk about that part, and then I can probably hit that third part of it. Because you're actually doing it.
Yeah. I mean, again, the state was very forward-looking in being one of the first 5 to say yes. It's now grown. There's probably about 20 states now that have some sort of program, and it's there's a lot of different solutions out there. Is the current state of things. So there's some leagues which are 100% turnkey. Asante mentioned Play Versus, which is kind of being implemented through the Georgia High School Association, right? That's kind of the official league, and they have a model, and basically the schools sign up. There's a technology platform. There's certain games that can be played that are content appropriate, and that's more of a turnkey solution for people who want to play towards a state championship. There's other organizations that are kind of taking a broader view than just the competition and getting into the game design and even shoutcasting and some of the art, like, hey, let's have a contest to design a hypothetical new character, for the game Smite, kind of beyond the game type challenges. And there's a few different organizations out there that are doing that. One nationally is called NASEF, NASEF, and our company is supporting a Georgia version of that as well. Actually, it's about to be officially announced beyond this Zoom call, but that's called GSEF, basically Georgia Scholastic Esports Foundation, a nonprofit to help with some of these particularly these beyond the game sort of challenges that get into STEM and get into game design. So it is, it's still early for all these things, but the adoption is, I would say, way ahead of most educators or principals' expectations. They kind of just started just about a year and a half ago with a couple games in Georgia, but because of the high student interest, it's continuing to get more resources.
And then I would just add that we will continue to look for partners all across the globe that for those type of opportunities with our high schoolers as well. I mentioned earlier about the EPIC mega grants that would hopefully teach our high school teachers as well. And then also, it's not really high school, but the Georgia Film Academy is actually doing an esports curriculum. I know, Todd, you helped them with that. So even some of our, as these kids are hopefully, seniors and moving into their freshman year of college, they could actually start taking some of these classes as well. So I'm just real excited to see that because again, these skills all play together. With somebody, Todd could have, worked for high res, and there's no reason if they did artwork, they couldn't go work for Cartoon Network or whatever. So to see the cross training that's taking place in, again, the creative industries is real exciting.
Yeah, let me hit that real quick because that is a super innovative model that Georgia has that we're kind of leaning into. So this concept of the Georgia Film Academy, when there was so much film business because of the tax credit and the talent in Georgia and a need to train workforce, this really innovative public-private kind of concept came about where you enroll at a Georgia public university and then you want to be trained in skills to work on a film set, and we want to pair it with industry. And so this idea of like industry professionals who are working at the movie studio are right there teaching the students very practical skills, and it all is delivered through the University System of Georgia. So that's a really cool concept. And as we were all as a community thinking about game development and esports, we wanted to lean into that model because it's worked. There've been thousands of graduates of that program. So we're starting this fall with the very first partner university, Georgia State, and 25 students that will learn the fundamentals of esports, really how to run an event. They could work at a Skillshot or for an Atlanta Reign or for a Turner. This event concept, it's valuable across a bunch of different industries.
Right.
So anyway, that program is starting there, and I think it can eventually and will eventually be able to trickle down to high school students as well.
And let me just share something about this. So the Georgia FinTech Academy, I'm sure Georgia FinTech Academy, Georgia Film Academy. When I travel around the world and I talk about these programs, people are always amazed that we have this. This is very unique to the state of Georgia. I think we're definitely at the forefront of talent development as it relates to these industries. So kudos to you guys. I mean, this is really amazing. And I think, again, it goes back to what makes Atlanta special. So we have two more questions and we'll close here. Todd, you talked about equity and inclusion. So with this being at the forefront of the conversation and sort of like our life right now, what is the industry doing to make sure that gaming is more inclusive for players and also as it relates to the workforce?
Yeah, a lot. There's work to be done, certainly in our industry, like all industries. I think you're seeing a couple things. One is you're actually seeing an expansion of game genres because the reality is certain games statistically do appeal to different populations a little bit differently. People have this stereotype that, like, for instance, girls don't game or women don't game. Well, as game players, it's like 45% female. Pretty close. It's actually higher than, say, soccer, which has had a lot of resources invested for a decade in women's soccer. So it's actually encouraging. But the games that they play may not be exactly the same, right? So it's just like every sports team is not football. Football appeals to more men than women, but there's support for women's traditional sports. You're seeing that in gaming. So some games that appeal more to women, more to African Americans, Latinos, right? You're seeing more spotlights and attention placed on that, which is great. So that's part of the solution from a play standpoint. There's also a lot of exciting work on the kind of on the getting to be a game creator side of it. And a lot of that has to do with access, access to personal computers, access to mentors, access to training. So it's something that our company actually has participated in. We were pretty fortunate ahead of the Super Bowl. When Atlanta hosted the Super Bowl, we actually worked to open an esports STEM center in the heart of Atlanta, just a mile from the Capitol. We worked with a great organization, the Johnson Center there, and they had a robotics center, and we installed a bunch of amazing PCs and production equipment so that public youth in that area would have free access to esports equipment and training. We're also working on some training that we'll make available for free. And I'll shout out to my my friend Ryan here in Atlanta. He has a new nonprofit startup called Community with an X. That's all their sole mission is based on kind of equity within gaming, specifically targeting Black population. They're actually doing engagement now with the HBCUs, setting up an esports league with them in combination with Twitch. And so, again, these are awesome efforts that we're proud to hopefully be leading the way with Atlanta. And I'm happy to talk more with anyone that wants to help, support these. Just hit me up offline.
Right. And I would say real quick, Caesar, from our end, we were real excited when the governor passed the hate crimes law about a month ago now. So again, that really opened up the doors, I think, to the LGBTQ, I'm not saying that right, I'm sorry, industry here in all aspects. And then Todd actually did a great program getting our high schools, because some of our local high schools, especially the Atlanta school district, just didn't have the money, the equipment. And you guys had a program, Esports in a Box, which was great. And I just love that idea. I think hopefully as we continue growing in some of our schools that need, equipment and expertise and mentorship, Todd and this group has just been really great in that. And then to follow up with, I have been in a lot of talks lately with the AUC, which is a lot of our local Black colleges as well. Morris Brown is actually starting an eSport class this fall, which is exciting. I've been Larry Morehouse and Clark Atlanta, who have actually got money lately, 20 from Netflix, 20 from Apple. Mm-hmm. It's really exciting what's going on there. And I'm excited about the community announcement, which is great. Hopefully our local win those tournaments too. We want to own our HBCUs in Georgia need to win that. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is very exciting. I think we have a few more questions, but I think in the interest of time, I do want to be respectful of everyone's schedule today. What I'll do, for those questions that we didn't get to, Asante and Todd, if you don't mind, I'll email those to you, and then I'll share those back. I'll share the responses with the audience with our follow-up. Just very quickly as we close, just want to share the results again of the poll this morning. Again, this is, are you familiar with esports? This is what we got from our audience, just so everybody knows. The next poll, which was, when was the last time you played video games? Here are the results, and I'm sure that this is going to look very different tomorrow if we were to do it after today's conversation. And then the last one was in terms of the audience who was here. It was also an interesting mix. I did get a couple of messages kind of saying, hey, my persona wasn't there. So we also have some broadcast producers with us today, just so everybody knows. So with that being said, again, I do want to, first of all, thank you, Todd and Asante, for being with us today. This has been a great learning opportunity for me. Just again, from the interactions that we've had with the audience, I know that it's been a great learning opportunity for them as well. I've got a lot from this. I'm actually about to probably go and upgrade my Xbox. See what I can do after this. But yeah, thank you for this. This has been extremely helpful. Thank you for the participants for joining us and for your engagement. I can tell you that from a lot of the events that we have, this crowd has been very dynamic and very engaging, so really excited about that. So please do stay tuned for future conversations like this one. I think that we can have sort of a few follow-ups as it relates to some of the topics. I know that we covered a very broad section of what esports and gaming is, and we could go into more details. So we'll look forward to working with you Todd and Asante to continue the conversation. So to the audience, just stay tuned, follow us on social media. We will be sending out a survey later today just to again gauge your interest, and we do take your feedback serious. So please let us know what other topics you would like to see. So again, thank you everybody for being with us today. I wish I could shake your hands and do a round of applause, but we're virtual here, so virtual hugs, virtual clapping for everybody. Thank you. Have a fantastic weekend. This concludes the webinar. Thank you, everybody.